J,
C,
D,
C, micro.
Struggling in your microeconomics class?
Yeah.
Do you need help with supply and demand graph, but those 2001 videos aren't helping?
Yeah.
Well, in this video, we're going to break it down.
For any good or service, there is a general supply and demand graph, which consists of an upward sloping supply curve representing what producers are willing and able to sell, and a downward sloping demand curve representing what the consumers are willing and able to buy. Sometimes the conditions for the market remain the same, but like all things, it is subject to change. These changes cause shifts in demand and or supply. Let's look at demand first.
One of the 5 factors causing shifts in demand is taste and preferences. For example, if a study comes out and shows that candy increases brain power, consumers are going to want to stock up on candy to become smarter. As a result of this change in preference, the demand curve for candy will shift right.
The second demand shifter is the number of consumers. For example, let's look at this town. We'll call it Millville. If there is a decrease in the number of kids in that town, then there will be less kids buying toys, and therefore the demand curve for the toys in that toy store will go to the left.
Likewise, the price of related goods can affect the demand for the product, such as substitute goods and complementary goods. Substitute goods are like off-brand flour that you can buy instead of well-known brand of flour. For instance, if the off-brand flour is set at a lower price, consumers will want to buy less of the well-known branded flour, shifting the demand of the well-known flour left. While complementary goods are goods like bagels and cream cheese, goods that are consumed together, both of these related goods can affect the demand curve. To illustrate, if bagel prices increase, people are most likely to buy less cream cheese as well, shifting demand of the cream cheese left.
The fourth demand shifter is income. The more people can afford, the more they will want to buy. For example, if car consumers have an increase in income, they will be able to afford the more expensive, fancy cars, and they won't want to buy the cheap cars, causing the demand curve for the less expensive cars to decrease, go left, and the demand curve for the more expensive cars to increase and go right.
Lastly, expectations for future prices can affect whether consumers will buy the product. If a news article predicts that laptop prices will drop in the next month, people will most likely wait for the price drop before they purchase a laptop, decreasing the demand before the price decrease.
Not only can the demand curve shift, but the supply curve can shift as well. The first of the 7 supply shifters is a change in the cost of production. A price decrease in yarn, for example, will increase the supply for a company producing sweaters. The less it costs to make a product, the more producers of that product will make, and vice versa.
Additionally, the next one is a no-brainer. If the number of sellers increase, the producers will be able to produce more, and the supply would increase.
The next supply shifter is technology. For example, if there was an increase in efficiency of machines in a factory making pencils, that business can produce more pencils in a shorter amount of time, which increases their supply.
The fourth supply shifter is government regulations. The government can choose to limit producer prices with things like price ceilings and price floors. For example, if the government were to set a price ceiling for house rental prices, there would be a set maximum price for the rent, and some suppliers would not want to rent out as many houses for that price, which lowers the supply curve.
The next supply shifter is taxes and subsidies. The government can impose taxes to limit supply or give subsidies to businesses, which increases the supply of the good.
Sometimes there can be supply shocks, where unexpected events can affect supply. If a drought occurs, more crops will wither and die, decreasing supply.
Like consumers, expectations of future profit affects a producer's output. For example, if strawberries are predicted to reap in a lot of profit for being a favorite summer fruit, they will increase their supply during June and lower their supply during December.
In the short run, the shifters may be demanding on the amount of brain power you need to supply for microeconomics, but in the long run, this knowledge will give you maximum utility.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry.